There's a saying in industry, if you can measure it, you can manage it. And today we're going to look at a system that does both of those things. It's the Acti9 Powertag from Schneider Electric.
Absolutely love the rig you've built.
Well, I thought since we're going to be installing this in our own unit that we work in, Gary, we best get to grips with the system before taking the plunge with the full install. So I've built this little demo rig so we can look at the essential components and what they do, and obviously get comfortable with the software that's behind them.
Yeah, and we're going to fit it in this board when we relocate it over there inside this unit. And if you want to check out the review we did on the Acti9 ISOBRP distribution board by Schneider Electric, I'm sure you'll leave a link in the description when you're above our
down
heads.
There somewhere, yes.
Fantastic looking rig that you've built here. Should we take a little closer look at it?
Yeah, let's dive in and have a look at the essential components, Gary.
Okay, so talk me through it.
Well, I guess I'll not start with that one, Gary. We'll come back to that, but I'll start with these little devices here.
Right.
So these are the power tags themselves.
Right.
Which it looks a little bit like a current transformer that you may have seen in other metering kits.
Right.
But this actually powers itself by hooking onto the circuit breaker.
So that's obviously for a single breaker, so a single phase breaker, yes?
Yeah.
Where the one we've got here is a 2-pole one?
On a double pole breaker here.
Okay, and to do a 3-phase one?
And we do a 3-phase one that goes in, well, it's a 3-phase in neutral because we have some of those in the board we have behind us.
Okay, so that's measuring the power, yes?
Yes, that's measuring the power, and that communicates wirelessly with this box here, which is the Acti9 Powertag link.
Right.
Which is then transmitting the data from the switchboard and the power tags back to some software that we've got installed on the laptop here.
Okay, so just talk me through this then. So it has to be hardwired in, is that correct?
So it's hardwired to the network connection.
Right.
There is another version that does a cloud version, but we've got the hardwired version here. But then the interesting bit though is this wireless communication between the power tags. So if you've got a load of these in a board, there's no interconnecting wiring needed to get your power data back out to do your measuring, and that can be quite complex on existing metering systems and things like that.
So I'm thinking this goes obviously inside the distribution board next to our breaker, in this case a double pole one or 2-pole breaker, and the rest of this here would be located, say, in that separate box adjacent to the actual board.
So we've got an expansion module that we're going to sit on the top of the Acti9 board when we come to install it.
Okay, so we've got it all here, but it wouldn't all be looking necessarily exactly like this, and of course you'll see the one when we put it inside the unit itself, won't we?
Yeah. So that's the power tag bit, but also mentioned control. So obviously you can't control with just a current transformer. We've got these input and output modules as well in the rig. Okay,
let's have a closer look at those then, because I think you can activate them from here, can you?
Yes, you can. So I mean, I could switch the load on and off using this button here, but even this we can configure. We'll look at that in a little while. So this is an output module, and I've hooked this up to a contactor, which is here, and it's also got an auxiliary contactor feed back into the system so that we know that the contacts have actually closed on that as well.
Wow, it looks remarkably like your work, because that's really good, and obviously there's a little bit back here that we're going to have a look at as well at some point in the video. Just talk me through why.
Obviously, yes, so measuring power, across a large facility, you want to know where your energy is going, and before you can manage it, you need to measure it so you know where power is going, and that's where this Acti9 Powertag comes in. So
it links in with maybe having a more efficient process. So imagine we're building something and we change the operation or how we build it, you can actually measure the amount of power the changes have saved you in that process.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a great practical example. A few years ago I was lucky to visit a large heavy plant manufacturing factory up in Scotland, and they had installed power monitoring across the whole site because they wanted to work out how much energy is consumed making each piece of construction equipment.
Okay, and when they knew it, they could start to save it.
Yeah, and then obviously one of their key metrics across the group was to reduce their energy impact, as lots of companies need to do at the moment. And obviously getting a grip as where does energy go is important. And so you might bring in a new piece of equipment, and that reduces energy, or you may change your lighting system. Obviously you can see the impact of that and track it over time.
And can you control it as well? So say for instance, we had a business where maybe like a football stadium where we go into like a cleaning mode, so late in the evening we want to turn off a lot of lights. Could you do that through the system?
Yeah, so again, traditional control systems, there might be lots of wires involved, or you might want to retrofit this to an existing system. This is probably where this power tag is probably most useful, a lot of those retrofit situations, or even in new builds as well. it can also hook up to a building management system as well. So what we're going to look at today is just the power management, some of the intelligence we can get from the system. We're not going to implement full controls and have lights going up and down. That's probably for another video.
You said about the Powertag. Can we see how easy it is to fit one of these Powertags? Because our audience are thinking, we're electricians, want to know how difficult it was to fit. Shall we fit this one here? Do you want to cut to that?
Let's have a look at that. So let's fit the Powertag to this existing circuit breaker. So dead easy to remove the conductors from the circuit.
So effectively, we're now inside the three-phase distribution board when we're doing this.
Yeah, so obviously we don't see many double pole circuit breakers in the UK, but that's just what we've got here. So the Powertag itself gets its power from the circuit it's connected to. So there's a little tabs there for line and neutral. So again, push the conductors through the Powertag, and they're the current transformers. Slot them into the cage terminals, and then just tighten them back up.
We could just see those two tabs going in, and it's just a case of torquing them back to the required setting, and you're finished, yeah?
Yeah, that's it, job done.
Well, I think that clearly demonstrated how easy it was to fit the Powertag, but you said it can measure power, so you're going to need to show me how it's going to measure that output.
Yeah, so our demo rig we've got here, Gary, I've got the heater on the bench here, connected through the contactor, controlled via the input-output module of the system, and then connected through the Powertag that's on the end of this 40 amp circuit breaker there.
Okay.
So first off, I can switch the heater on using the Powertag, so I'm just going to do that on the screen.
So you're going to switch it on from the computer?
Yeah, so just bring that in.
Wow, I like that.
So just do the little test button there. You heard a contactor click, and now we're being warmed, and now you'll start to see the power data coming through on the second line here from the Powertag itself. So it's giving us a reading of obviously the current, the voltage present, and also the power. It updates itself around every 30 seconds or so.
Okay, so yeah, I like that. So that seemed beyond easy, that did. So remotely, you've gone on there, you've turned on, in this case, a socket outlet, which is turned on a heater, but not only have you turned it on, but you've measured that power output as well.
Yeah, so we can see there as well, yeah, power factor, things like that, yeah, the voltage, and then you can obviously assign alarms to that as well.
Okay, what do you mean by an alarm?
We'll say the voltage dipped, or power wasn't exactly where you'd expect it to be, or say the breaker's tripped. So what I'll do first, I'll actually trip the breaker.
Okay, let's bring in hand cam so we can physically see you doing that. So on site, the breaker's going to trip.
Breaker's going to trip.
Okay.
And then you'll see that reflected in the software.
Okay, let's have a look.
So you'll see the Powertag go from green to red when it does its next update.
You said about 30 seconds. Wow, that coming quick.
So you can see we've lost voltage. You can see there's no power recorded now.
So I could be back looking at this management system that you talked about previously, and before I even go to site, I know what breaker is tripped. I probably know its location, okay, and my fault finding process has started already.
Yeah, or if we say you're in preventative maintenance and possibly, sometimes when power suddenly increases or decreases, something's going to fail or something's out of where you'd normally expect it to be. There's an area to look at, yeah, when you go to site. So I'll restore that breaker now. Heater's back on again. We'll see it update on the...
Well, I can actually change the power rating of this, so I can actually step it up to, say, 2 kilowatts. Shall we see if that will change on there?
Yep.
So let's bring that in, and I'm going to change that now to 2 kilowatts. You said it takes about 30 seconds or less to update itself. There you go.
Yeah.
Is that updating now?
It's gone from being up, yeah, so we'll gradually see that power increase. So yeah, I think... you
can see the currents change, and obviously you can see the power now changing as a...
Yeah, power increasing up to reflect what's coming out of the heater. So that's really simple.
So, from my point of view, it could be, that we can actually see maybe someone's turned on all our air conditioning, someone's left all the lights on at night when the building's unoccupied, and it won't take much of a story in the back there to work out where you're wasting power, will it? Or in other words, spending money, I would suggest.
Yeah, that's it. And then obviously some other clever things we can do in the setup. So obviously we configured this for a heating load.
Do you want to turn that off for a second?
Well, getting nice and warm there.
Yeah, well, okay.
We can also alter the devices themselves. So if we just go into this, into the setup screen.
Okay, when you say alter the devices, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so we've got, if we look at our control relay there.
Yeah.
So there's some parameters you can set on there. Now the relay itself, if you look at it, Gary, just bring the hand cam in here.
Bring the hand cam in.
You'll see we've got a manual, you can actually trigger it manually from this button on the front.
So, in other words, I'm on site and I want the actual outgoing load to come on. I just go and simply go to the area near the consumer unit, distribution board, etc., and press the button.
Yeah. Now, that might be desirable in some applications.
Right, okay.
But obviously, if you've got someone who gets a little bit trigger happy, and pushing things that they shouldn't, you can actually disable that function or enable it. So if I just go in on this screen here.
Right, so you're going to disable it because it is enabled, yes?
So you can see the local control. So local control enabled there. Just go in and alter that to no.
Okay.
Right to the device.
Confirm that.
Confirm that.
And
right
so obviously we've done that obviously away from the area, and you're going to tell me next when you press that button, okay, when we press this button down here, that it isn't going to do anything.
Yeah, that'll be disabled.
So that's probably the air conditioning for the people working for you. You've turned off on a nice hot day. Is that
or possibly, yeah, the classic one is the heating. People trying to override the heating system. You know, we think it's warm enough. You think it's cold, so you'll try and bypass the control system.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're going. So is that updated? Let's have a look at pressing that button then.
Right, so now if you push that, well, there you go. So now that button no longer.
I'm now cold.
No, yeah, you're nice and cold.
Well, thank you for that. It shows how clever it is, doesn't it? You know,
yeah, so perhaps now I'll change it. We'll change to a lighting load. Plug in the floodlight we've got behind us. I'm going to change it on the screen.
Okay.
So
this means now then we've got a dimmable lighting circuit that we got a dimmer on, so we can dim our circuit, and you think that will see us change the power consumption and also the power factor of that?
Yeah, so let's, I'll just change it to a lighting load, so you might want to, obviously, you'd group these in your switchboard.
And that's only for enabling the identification of your load. That doesn't make any difference about change out. We could have left it as heat and it still would have worked, wouldn't it? You just want to identify it correctly.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So let's do that.
So that one will update. And then we'll go back to that screen and we can now look at the actual power consumption of this lighting circuit, yes?
Yeah.
That quickly updated. What are we on to next?
Right, so again, I could obviously update our breaker as well. Let's just go back to our device checkup. So again, I can still remotely trigger the light, so I can switch off. And again, it gives us the status on the screen there as well, Gary, if you look at the contactor.
So light's gone off, okay, because you triggered it from there, okay, and you're in full control of that in the back office, okay, and so can you put it back on again for us?
Yeah, bring it back on.
Well, in real terms, that's almost instant, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do now, we're going to dim our lighting circuit down.
Let's wait until the power starts showing us the way it should be on the screen. So you can see, yeah, remember from that last video we made about that floodlight, yeah, it's just around a 250 watt LED floodlight. We can see the power factor on the screen there as well. So if I just start to dim it down.
So as we bring that lighting level down, we expect to see the power fall, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we'll see the power fall, and yeah, power factor normally on LED products is quoted at the full power, so you can see the power factor starting to change as well. So again, just carry on dimming that down to its bottom end.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, so that's down at 44 watts, and you can see the power factor's changed there as well.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems too easy. That wasn't very difficult, what you did here in the first part of it. Obviously, with commissioning, we're going to show that footage as well. But in real terms, those results are almost instant, aren't they, of what you're doing within your installation, looking at the power you're measuring.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, say again, well, let's have a look at how easy that actually was to set up as well, because remember, in a normal control system, or if you're using metering, there'd be a lot of interconnecting wires, you know, interlocks, things like that, time clocks, all sorts of other things in there. This wireless system is fantastic. So I'm just going to commission our little demo rig that we've got here. So find our Acti9 Powertag link, going to connect to the device, and then we're going to add some wireless devices to it. So we're going to add that wirelessly. You can also do it via QR code and scan them in, or just input the details from the tag at the side of the device. But this is going to quickly scan. Oh, there you go, found them. Yeah, so it's found our two devices, just a small installation here. You can use this for up to 20 devices on a wireless scan.
You're going to name them now?
Just, yeah, it's on an MCB. I'm just going to call this an output device for now. And then let's just have a look at some of the other parameters in there. So it just wants to, we want to know what MCB rating we're attached to. So this is on a 40 amp MCB. And it's going to connect to a heating load, we'll set it as for now.
Okay, makes sense.
And then we've just got to send that information to the device. I'll just click on the button here.
So it's sending the information because it's on the same network, is that right?
Yeah, it's connected to it. So it's just updating the device so it knows what it is. and then repeat the procedure for that control device as well. So a few parameters you can set here. So again, you can obviously assign it to what type of load it's controlling, so it makes obviously easier to decipher if you're ever doing any fault finding or other commissioning. Just got a process for now. You can set it as a contactor or an impulse relay if you're going to trigger something else. But again, so just write to the device. Quickly do that, and that's it. That's our system commissioned.
So just for a change, I'll let Gordon do the commissioning. I know how I love to do the back office stuff. And again, you showed it was simple, wasn't it?
Well, thanks for that, Gary. I know you love software-based systems, but no, that was easy to set up. And yeah, this is our first look at this Powertag system from Schneider Electric. I'm sure there's eFIXX viewers out there who are ahead of us in terms of deploying it and have got loads of experience with the system. If that's you, drop a comment below. If you've got any questions about the system, fire them to us. We'll try and answer them or pass them on to somebody who does know the answer. But even better, if you're one of the users who is using the system, you try and answer the question for some of the other eFIXX viewers in there. We really value that input, and so do they.